In 3, 2, 1.
John, are we live?
We are live.
Holy smokes, our first ever live streamed Wheelhouse. Welcome, guys, to our first episode that's actually live streamed. We've recorded a couple, pre-recorded a couple, and now we're going to go live. So I'm going to reintroduce myself for those of you that don't know me or end up watching this back when we do our 1,000th show like Joe Rogan and John and I are famous. My name is Mo Dodka. I'm the owner and attorney at the Dodka Law Group. I am an owner and realtor at Main Street Real Estate Group, the CEO of a new tech company. The only reason I say that is because I am a passionate entrepreneur, and the idea of being an entrepreneur is what kind of launched Wheelhouse. John and I wanted to showcase local entrepreneurs, business owners, charities, comedians, just local influencers who can teach you guys things, teach us stuff, just talk about their struggles, successes, and just get local influencers on the show to talk to you guys in a TV show-esque netcast. So it's going to be one guest, bring on a second guest. We're going to have a roundtable discussion about a various amount of different topics. And today's first episode is going to be Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and I think anywhere else we can go live. So I've introduced myself. My partner in this is John Lally. John, can they see you back there?
They can see us both right now. How you doing, Mo?
Oh, cool. So I got to make sure I'm on screen. I'm not off right now. Exactly. I can't do anything crazy with my hands.
Having fun.
So John is going to be the guy behind the cameras. He's the director and producer of the show. I'm going to be hosting it, and we're at least going to have 2 guests on every time. Today, our first live show, we got 2 amazing guests. They also happen to be 2 pretty good athletes, so we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Our first guest is Ryan Cotter. He's smiling. Ryan Cotter is a mortgage professional. He is also the creator of the Real Estate Rumble, which is the first charity we're going to be showcasing. The Rumble is going to be on May 17th. If I screw these dates up, let me know, Ryan. And our weigh-in is next week, April 18th at Bottle Blonde. The Rumble is something John and I are really, really passionate about. It's one of Chicago's leading charities. It raises a crazy amount of money every single year for the kids. I think it raises more money than any real estate related charity in Chicago, and we'll talk about that in a second. It's amazing. And John and I have been involved in it for the last couple years now. I boxed in it 3 years ago. John has been filming the Real Estate Rumble and the show itself for a couple years. So we love it. We love what you guys are doing. And welcome to our first live show, Ryan Cotter. Oh, and before I let him speak, he also has an issue with, and I don't know who it is, the National Boxing Association. They're definitely not listening, but if they listen back when we're famous, yeah. Cotter has an issue with his 1994 boxing ranking. He was not happy about the fact that he was ranked number 4, and we'll talk about that in a second.
It's actually the National Collegiate Boxing Association, the NCBA. But that's
are they still around from 1994?
I've let it go.
You let it go?
I've let it go.
I don't think he has let it go.
I let it go.
What's going on?
Nothing. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. So tell us about the Rumble.
Your dates were correct. I was going to write those down for you. The weigh-in is May 18th.
Put them up in front of my face.
Yeah. May 18th. Oh, sorry. I messed it up. April 18th is the weigh-in event at Bottle Blonde, and then the actual event itself is May 17th at the Park West. Tickets are available at ChicagoRealEstateRumble.com.
www.ChicagoRealEstateRumble.com.
Yeah.
This is your which year doing it?
This is our 5th year here in Chicago, and we're going to be doing our 2nd year in Los Angeles.
And Miami's next year, right? Because we had Albron on, Albron Hanna, a couple weeks ago, and he was doing the pre-recorded Wheelhouse, and he said Miami's looking good for next year.
Yeah, we've actually had a bunch of interests in Boston, Minneapolis, Albron's down in Miami. So there'll definitely be another city next year for sure. Which one it is, we'll just see how it goes.
Albron will just up and move to wherever the heck you want him to go to set up.
I don't think he'll move to Boston, though.
No. He'll go back to Vegas, maybe. He'll go someplace warm.
We've talked about Vegas, yeah.
Maybe Austin, someplace warm. But he's not. If you send him up and cold,
Northeast,
he's like,
it's not going to work for him.
No, maybe New York.
Maybe.
New York's probably.
We have a lot of interest in New York as well, and there's my micro and macro plan for the charity event is to have one in every city that didn't have a championship in Las Vegas. So it's about a 5-year goal. So how we get there is going to be kind of interesting. New York has a lot of charity boxing events already. So it may be one of those that are on or off the table, or we partner up with one of their charity events and basically form that. That's why I formed the the National Real Estate Boxing Association to be like an umbrella over this. So if somebody else is, duplicating what I'm doing someplace else, like Canada.
Yeah, we heard there's hey, if you're listening, Canada, who's trying to rip off the Chicago Real Estate Rumble, Ryan Cotter knows you're trying to rip him off, and he's coming up to Canada.
Yeah, you Canadians.
But yeah, that's awesome. And I know last year you guys raised almost $100,000 for charity, which is incredible because I've done a couple charity events here in Chicago and they've been successful real estate related ones, but it's really difficult in one night to come up with that much money. Where does the money go, and how have you guys gone from kind of the new kids on the block to now obviously raising almost six figures in a single night?
Yeah, no, it's been awesome, and we've experienced like exponential growth every year. This year we're incorporating the formation of a board, because it's really just been me and Elbron and Greg at sometimes chipping in and getting and you guys, a lot of volunteer work that it came from our first year. We raised $5,000.
It's crazy. And
now again, six figures in multiple cities. We need to get more focused on it, and that's what we're doing. We've got a lot of people like yourself involved. So it's been fun, and it's been, I wouldn't say super easy, but it's definitely been it's been fun. That's all I could say. I'm like, I've made great friends, the people that have participated in it, from the people that fought to the people that volunteered. They've become friends. Yourself, Elbron.
Oh, my buddy, I'm a friend.
We just looking at pictures of you, holding the mitts for my little boy.
Yeah, he's adorable.
Yeah, so it's been awesome. I mean, I use the term socialpreneur, right?
Yeah.
And I think everybody needs to incorporate that into their life as a part of giving back. If you feel like you're blessed, if you're grateful, the attitude of gratitude, right? Do something that you enjoy. It won't seem like work, and you'll be able to give back to the community. Boxing's always been that for me, and talking smack to real estate agents. So combine the two, voila.
Perfect. When did you start boxing? Because you said it was a passion.
Yeah,
so you started
I started
when
I was like 12, I think. I did the silver gloves, golden gloves, captained the college boxing team, did a bunch of, like me and Lawrence were talking about, charity events, to stay in shape. So been active. Kind of fell off the bench for a little while there. It
wasn't so bad. I went a couple rounds with Cotter on Sunday.
So I'm trying to turn the ship around. I mean, pants are getting tight, and so there's no more notches in the belt.
Yeah.
So got to start working out.
Well, I had got to the point, I was telling John before the show started, I gained like 30 pounds, and I buy my suits nice and slim so that if I gain too much weight, I let myself know I can't just go buy fat suits now. I have to lose weight to get back in my normal size suits. So I just like lost 30 pounds. So now I can, John probably can't see this in video, but I can actually button this suit.
I hid that intentionally.
Yeah, you moved it up.
We did.
I'm the same way. Like when it comes to like, that's my trigger. Like, I'm not buying pants that are a larger size than the ones I'm not getting new pants.
Yeah.
So,
You're almost
tight.
there, right?
Yeah.
Well, you shouldn't have a Mexican buffet like you had on Sunday. So Ryan came in to high five.
I didn't think I was going to spar. I was just coming there to move around.
Jump rope.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was going to spar a big guy either.
Yeah.
I got there. I was looking for a guy who was 155 pounds, and then Coach Quick was like, he didn't show up. You want to move around 40% speed with a guy who's 255 pounds? I was like, yeah, for 40% speed, I got a bad back. And he hits like a Mack truck, and then you came, and I was like, thank God, somebody close to my size.
And before that, went to brunch and crushed a Mexican buffet and 2 margaritas.
That's a
recipe. Anytime you want to spar, that's like legitimately what they tell you. Do not do this.
Don't eat
do
a Mexican buffet
Don't eat
before you spar. So tell me, when did you get into lending? How did you get into the lending side of the world?
I'd always wanted to own property, and an internship in college introduced me to the lending aspect. And then the light just went off. I was like, I want to borrow a lot of money. Why don't I just borrow it from myself? So got a job working for a small financial institution, helped pay my way through college and all the fun stuff associated with it. And then I actually finished school early, or I should say that I left school one semester early so that I can just start working. When I talked my employer into letting me take classes at night just to get the degree, because I wanted to get to work right away. I just I wanted to buy property. I wanted to buy real estate. So
That's awesome.
yeah, it's fun.
And you didn't mention it, but you told us off air you were a cowboy at one point.
Yes.
So this is real? You actually
Yes.
were a cowboy? You rode
Yeah.
the horses?
I've had just a bunch of different jobs, and in college I used to take semesters off. College was not a race for me; it was a series of baby steps, right?
Okay.
So I would go to school for a semester, usually the spring semester, because that's when the boxing would take place. But then I'd take time off and I'd go do fun jobs. So I was a cowboy for 1 year. I worked in all kinds of resort towns.
That's
I was
awesome.
I was a ski bum.
No, that's awesome because you gain an appreciation for hard work when you have to work a ton of different jobs. I remember when I was a kid, I did college pro painting, I delivered food, I worked at a catering company, eventually started personal training, went to law school and stuff, but I worked a lot of odd jobs that made me appreciate how much hard work goes into actually making money.
Oh, yeah.
I remember my dad used to be like, you make $2, maybe you take home $1. And I never understood that concept. I was like, wait, how does that work? I make $2. I don't actually take $2 with me. And he's like, no, you make $2. You might have $1 left over. And now fast forward 20, 30
I
years.
always
and I get
had
it.
at least 2 jobs
Cool.
in college. Like even when I was training on the box team, I was like a waiter on the weekends. And then school. So I always had legitimately 3 things going at once.
Nice. What's going on with the Cotter? Do you call it the Cotter Group, Cotter Team, Ryan Cotter Group?
No, we don't call it the.
What do you call it?
The
Ryan
law
Cotter
group.
Company. What
The
do you
law
call it? The
with
group.
one person.
Yeah, that was me. When I first opened my law firm, I was like, do I do .law group? And if you remember, I don't know if you watched Entourage,
Yeah.
where E had his group, and
Right.
it was a group of one. So when I did the .law group, my buddies were like, hey, did you hire somebody? And I'm like, no, it's just me. And
Yeah.
I'm like, group sounds like it's powerful. It's just me, and me was the group. And now we have 2 people, and we're hiring a third. So now we're legitimately like a group.
Yeah.
Because even 2, I'm like a duo.
Yeah.
It's like the Dodka Law Duo, and now I'm like a group.
Can I
soon.
make that your official nickname, Law Group?
The Law Group?
Just
Yeah,
Law
yeah.
Group.
Law
So
Group?
when we're sparring and I'm trying to instigate you to hit me harder, I'm like, come on, Law Group.
Yeah. Come on, Law
Group.
Duo. That'll piss me off. Come on, Law One-Off person. I'd be like, yeah, you're right. So what's going on with the Cotter Team Group person?
Things are good. In what aspect? Again, I always have 3 things going on. So that could be the family, that group. That could be
The work group.
Okay.
Yeah. What's going on with you guys?
Oh, we're going great. I'm part of a joint venture with the Conlin Real Estate Group, and
Cool.
it's going awesome. Again, surrounded by good people, so it's fun. I like getting into the office early. I'm in tunnel vision. I don't get up for lunch, and I'm there and I'm banging it out, and then I'm clocking out at 5:30 to run home to the little guy.
Yeah, because that's the big thing is, and Lawrence is going to be on a little bit. He's getting married soon. I am like a madman when it comes to working, and I want to have kids. Like for me, like I want to have little kids, but my work is so bad. I got to set myself up in a way so that eventually I have the ability to walk away at 5:30 and go home. Because right now I'm working till like 9, 10, 11 o'clock, working out, then working till 2. If I had a kid, that would never work. So has that recently happened where, because I know you're relatively a new dad, couple years in, where you go home at 5:30 now and you've kind of set that as the hard stop so you can get home and play with the little guy?
You have to do that, and you find when you do that, you actually become more productive in that time when you're on, right? So and people respect it. Yeah, I tell them like, hey, I love spending time with my family, so I'm going to be available from these times, and you respect that, and I respect you. So call me during the time. I mean, if you can call me during that time, I'm not going to be like mad at you, but just know you might not. You're more than likely not going to get a hold of me. If you do get a hold of me, it'll be a surprise. But yeah, you're not going to get a hold of me.
That's important. It's
setting expectations.
Yeah, I listened again. Second guest here gave me a recommendation to listen to Tim Ferriss's, How to Say No.
Tim Ferriss.
I think it was How to Say No, and I've been trying my best to do that because I'm very bad at time management and work-life balance. So I just say yes to almost everything, and I've been trying to say no to certain things. So that's good. Did you was the kid the deciding factor? Like, I got to say no to people? Because in our business, in real estate in general,
it didn't. It happened probably it had to be like right after hearing something of that same situation with Tim Ferriss. And then I've also listened to Tim Ferriss as well. But really, when you're trying to develop professionally, you listen to a lot of experts, right? And sometimes they sink in, sometimes they don't. There's the old adage, when the student wants to be taught, the teacher appears. So you basically got to want to do it.
Right.
So when you want to turn it off because you have something else, and it wasn't, I'd say probably till about maybe a year and a half ago that resonated with me, and I started to begin to implement it, because it's not going to happen overnight.
Right.
Right. Yeah. It's still not 100% with me, because after you get home, you start with that stage of all right, I'm just going to make phone calls in the car till I get home, and then you're at home, and then you're disconnected, and you need 30 minutes to decompress, and everybody wants to jump on you. So you gotta you get better at it. So where the last 10, 15 minutes of the car ride, I'm focused on getting into the house, being super happy, and being energized with them. Nobody wants to see me come home and be like, wow.
Right. Yeah. Especially wife and kids definitely don't want to see that.
They don't have that type of energy. They want dad coming in smiling, happy, which that's what I am. But you gotta cut it out at a certain point so that you can focus your energy on the next task at hand.
Yeah, that's the toughest thing for me, is just separating work from life, because I always let it spill over at home for me. So not in a sense that I come home just like angry, but we're in the type of business where everybody wants you right when they want you. And it's tough to just always be present with people at home, because everybody's messaging you and I need help, I need this. Everybody's deal is the most important deal to them in that moment in time, and they expect you to have that level of care for every deal. And you can, but without jeopardizing your happiness at home. So that's good that you're doing that. If you had a piece of advice for people who are listening, because we want to give you guys advice as much as we can on the show. If you had a piece of advice for somebody trying to get into kind of a business workforce, be a business owner, what would that one piece of advice be, or a couple pieces of advice?
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing is, just like I was saying, be a student. Understand that if you're just coming into the workforce, you're not done learning. It's just like the beginning of the beginning of your journey. College teaches you techniques to learn, right, that you're going to improve upon. So embrace that. Find out who you want to emulate, what person that you want to be exactly like. Find out what they did, do the exact same thing, get a mentor, and there's probably a huge percentage chance, 90, 95 plus, that you'll achieve it if you did exactly what that person did. Like I say all the time, like you want to be Donald Trump? Well, he had a background, obviously had hundreds of millions of dollars.
For those of you listening, I don't want to be exactly like him. There's aspects.
Right. As an example.
I'm just kidding. I know what you're saying.
If you do what he did every day, if there was a book that told you what he did every day, every second, and you did everything that he did every minute, every second, you end up pretty close to where he's at. It's not rocket science. It's just discipline to do the same things over and over again. Getting a coach. I think you should have multiple coaches. You got like a personal trainer. You got you could have a pastor or a priest, spiritual leader. You could have a mentor, an older gentleman for the whatever season of life you are in.
Life coach.
If you're younger, probably get somebody like in their 30s or 40s to mentor you. You're not gonna, and you're not gonna get like an 80-year-old guy.
Right.
But if you're in your 40s, your mentor's not gonna be 56 years old. It's gonna be somebody at the final seasons, right? So
all of you guys listening, past your 60s, you're in the final season according to Ryan Cotter. Seasons are about to end for you.
Yeah, but that's
great advice.
That's the one thing that I didn't do enough of, that I'm trying to make up for now.
Yeah.
Read a bunch of books. We talked about, with audiobooks now, I mean, you could just punish
Audible.
Books. Yeah, crush them, right? So, the old adage of not being able to read fast. I mean, in Audible, you can speed up the books, right? So you finish the book in half the time.
Yeah, I love that. I tell everybody the path to success is out there, and you just have to learn it and apply it consistently all the time. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things where I tell our real estate agents when we are coaching and training, guys, you want to be the best agent in Chicago, the really good agents, what they do is out there for you to learn. It's the same thing with basketball. You want to learn how to be the best basketball player? Figure out what Michael Jordan and LeBron James did, and implement it. So I love that. I love that you use Audible because I'm in the car a lot, so I use Audible a ton. And this might be the perfect segue, John, to our next guest because he is maybe the guy who motivated me the most, him and our jiu-jitsu coach, Jay Valco, actually, to read more. And I got Audible because of him, and I'm listening to a bunch of books because of him. But I want to give him the proper introduction. Our second guest is none other than we nicknamed him, I think females nicknamed him Stunning Lauren Stunning. He happens to be...
He named himself.
Yeah,
Come on now.
He's about as humble as it gets.
Definitely not true.
He's one of my closest buddies and a guy I look up to very, very much. He's like a big brother to me. He also happens to be my friend with the best work-life balance. And we were just talking about that, me and Ryan, and you're going to have a lot of great say on this. And he's just done a really incredible job of being super successful, retiring himself and living a life he wanted to live and coming back to the workforce and again becoming super successful in his second or third career. And just want to hear what he has to say about it. What's up, buddy? Stunning Dunning.
I'm honored to be here, the first live show.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks
We're honored to have you. He's always dressed casually in his Washington, D.C. jiu-jitsu shirt.
I think the key to success is, as Joe Rogan says, not being forced to be in a monkey suit, uncomfy. You should better be a bit more casual. But
I'm taking my jacket off right now. John's like, now I'm switching off.
I will put
camera.
a collar on if I'm taking a guy out who's buying $1 million condo. But apart from that, it's reluctant.
So you $500,000 buyers, you will see jiu-jitsu Lauren Stunning, not the collar Lauren Stunning.
This is true.
So everybody can tell you're British already because we heard the accent. When did you come to the U.S.? I actually don't think I even know that.
So I got a job out of college trading, and I think I was in the office in London for a week, and they said, hey, we have an office in Amsterdam. Do you want to go? And I said, I'd love to. I think when you're young, it's the time to travel. So I went to Amsterdam for 1 year, and then they had an option to come to New York, to Chicago. And I thought, great. When you're young, it's the time to travel before you have roots. So I came to Chicago. I was here 6 months. This is 2003, I think, 2002, 2003. And then they sent me to New York for a few months on Wall Street. And then they said, hey, do you want to stay in New York? And I said, no way. I was here in the summer. So I was like, they put me up in Streeterville, a beautiful corner 2-bedroom. And they said, do you want to stay in New York? I was like, that's okay. Come back to Chicago, and I've been here ever since. So.
Well, because you came in the summer, because Chicago is beautiful in the summer.
I arrived June 1st, so yeah.
The perfect time.
Perfect
time for a single young British guy to be roaming the streets of Chicago, Illinois.
Life could be worse.
Yeah. Well, Lawrence and I met in our building. We were walking dogs, and we met in the building. So I'm glad you went to Streeterville, because I've learned a lot from you. Trading. How did that go from starting off in Chicago to you ended up owning your own trading company, right?
So with trading, I remember you're on your own. They put you in a pit. You have your own position. You know exactly if you're doing well or if you're not doing well. So I think my first full year trading, I think I made $1 million. And my company said, hey, here's 100,000. And my brother, I was young. My brother was like, oh, that's amazing. You made 100,000. I'm like, no, bro, I made $1 million. They took 90%. I kept 10%. Like, for what? Like, they didn't. And not only did they not do anything, they would actually handicap me. Like, if I had a position where I'm long something and the market's exploding and I can sell it for a profit, my boss, who was a terrible trader, but he was the boss, he would always sell the low levels. And then he would tell me, oh, you can't sell anything. And then, of course, when prices were collapsing, he'd be like, okay, now you can sell. I'm like, it's too late. I missed my window. So I made that money being handicapped by a terrible boss, So after that, my friend and an older guy from Europe as well, he came over with me. He said, why don't we start our own company? Why are we working for these people? They're taking 90% of our money. And so, so I called my dad. I said, Dad, can I borrow $250,000, buy some trading seats, and set up a company? And I said, if it doesn't work out, I lose all your money. I'm going to get a corporate job, and I'll work really hard. I'll pay you back. But luckily, he's a great dad. He trusted me. He lent me the money, and I did very well, and I paid him back, several times.
Several times over. That's awesome.
Exactly.
And I've met Lawrence's dad. If you think, for those of you that know Lawrence, he is a athletic marvel and climbs mountains and does all that stuff, and we'll talk about that. His dad is like 2 times the athletic marvel of him, because your dad actually still climbs mountains and bikes across countries and stuff, right?
He's incredible, yeah. So I'm about to turn 39. He's 30 years older, so he's just turned 69, and he just got back last summer. He did a 3-month trip across the Pyrenees Mountains between France and Spain, and he sent me a picture when he arrived, and he was just skin and bones. You know, he just carried what he could, and he loves just being out there in the elements and just pushing himself and exploring. And he's my, like, you know, we talked earlier, you guys were talking about mentors, and I think that, you know, you definitely need to have different type of mentors, right? So when I was an amateur boxer, I wanted to box like, I used to watch Mike Tyson videos, like I want to box like Mike Tyson, but, you know, I didn't want to have, I wanted to have the ethics of maybe the Dalai Lama. He's someone to look up to. He's so moral, you know. So I think for every area of your life, you should have your mentor. So I think for real estate, Mo is my mentor. You know, he's my good friend. He's been in the business longer than me. You know, I learned so much from him. And then, you know, maybe from a lifestyle perspective, someone like Joe Rogan, he's always followed his own dreams. He's followed his own path. He's kind of created a life out of the life that he wanted. And my dad's the same. I look up to him because he's on paper very wealthy. He has assets, and he's always been very smart with his money. But he does what he loves, you know, and a lot of stuff he loves doesn't really require much money to put a backpack on and go around the world. But he's doing what he wants to do. He's not stuck in that rat race where, you know, I want to buy the latest car and I want to, you know, update the house because it's been 5 years, and just it's very hard. We live in a very superficial society, and I do enjoy nice things like anyone else, but you just can't let it take over your life. You have to be doing things for the right reason. And I think, you know, I don't know if Elon Musk dresses nice, but, you know, someone like Steve Jobs, he wore the same black turtleneck. Obviously, his scorecard was, you know, changing the world for the better. It wasn't about, you know, how many zeros in his bank account. So I think you have to be doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah, I look up to you in the work-life balance. So my dad was a workaholic, almost like I am, but his whole life. And I look up to you because I see you kicking butt, doing really well financially, but then knowing when to pause and then take a break. Because you, like, taking a real big step back, you retired yourself in your early 30s and went on and became a professional fighter, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think, but, you know, I made a lot of mistakes, though, unfortunately, because in my 20s, I was all about being a success with my career. So I didn't really understand how much money I had until it came down to the fact, I think I was just about to turn 30, and I drove my ex-girlfriend's beat up Chevy Blazer.
I remember that thing in front of the building, I think.
You could hear it coming. She had an accident with it, so the front quarter was smashed in. It looked like a T-Rex took a bite out of the front. You could hear it coming 2 blocks away. You could hear it made this horrible noise. I'd get pulled over all the time. Police looked at me. They're like, this poor guy is broke driving this thing. It was awesome. So I lived in the same condo that I bought the very first year. I first got a bonus. I bought my condo. Then I drove her car. You know, I dressed very casually. I didn't spend any money. I was making all this money. You know, I would travel, I guess. I would try to enjoy it a little bit, but I wasn't really thinking about it. And then I was just about to turn 30, and I thought, man, I'm actually, you know, I've got a few $1 million. I didn't even realize it was all kind of tied up in my business, in the trading business. And I looked at my life and I said, well, what do I do? Every day I'm in, you know, I get to work at 6, I trade till 3, I have lunch, I take a nap at the office, then I go straight, at the time I was boxing, I go straight to the boxing gym. I come home at 9 exhausted, have some food, unwind for an hour, and then go to bed. And at the weekends, great, I don't have to work, the market's closed, so I work out 2-3 times a day. And then, so I was like, well, that's obviously my passion, and you have to look at your life. You can be an incredibly, is it Rupert Murdoch and those guys, you know, they're in their 70s and 80s, and they're incredibly successful. You can be very, you know, as an older man or older woman, you can be very successful in business at any age. And at the time, I thought, man, I could be 80 years old on a yacht in the south of France trading from my computer. So I've got a lifetime to make money, but I have a very small window to do anything athletic. You know, so that's why I decided at 30 years old, I was like, you know what? I'd won the Golden Gloves as an amateur. I was doing jiu-jitsu. I got my blue belt. And MMA was just starting to, you know, to get kind of famous. And I was like, that would be such a challenge. You know, I'm naturally I was a very shy kid, and I'm definitely not the type. There's some type of fighters that if they weren't fighting professionally, they'd be fighting on a Saturday night after, you know, they've had 5 drinks. They got that. I was
You're
never that
not
type.
at all.
No.
I've never seen you like get angry at anybody
Right.
physically.
Because I'm always so tired from training. But no, but so I thought for me, I think one of the scariest things was kind of like when I was an amateur boxer, I was terrified. I looked at my opponents and I was like, I don't want to fight this big jacked guy. I've got no problem with this guy. I don't want to fight this guy. So it was always about, facing the fear. And I think that's when I was like, I always had a fear of being an old man with regrets. And I think that was the big thing when I was 30 years old. I was like, if I keep my current projection, I'm going to be 50 years old, multimillionaire, and thinking, well, for what? I can never go back in time and do these things that you can only do when you're young. So I decided I gave my trading company away to one of my good friends who's still trading, Luis, and I took about 6 months to kind of transition. I had this thing in my head where I thought, well, if I work, a hard day in the trading pit and then I come home and I work out, I was like, it's going to be so easy. I'm going to get up in the morning, have a hard workout, come home, spend an hour learning Spanish, watch jiu-jitsu DVDs, then I'll go back to the gym a second time. I had no idea, just training twice a day, 6 days a week, how much it takes out of you in your early 30s. It takes a lot out of you. So it took a while to get going. And then I spent 5 years. I probably trained for 20. I had one amateur MMA fight, 9 pro fights, and I probably trained for about 20. But I had last minute people dropped out last minute all the time.
I remember you cutting so much weight and then people pulling out last minute. That's
awful.
I remember that.
I pulled out of one fight about 2 weeks out because my hip was really locked. I couldn't get out of the car after the gym, so I was like, that's probably not a good time to fight. Apart from that, I had about everyone else pulled out last minute on me, which is very frustrating.
They got scared.
Well, you know what people do? People sign up. They're like, oh, do you want to fight like in 6 weeks? Yeah, I'll fight in 6 weeks. And then after about 5 weeks, they're like, actually, I haven't trained that hard. My weight's kind of high. I'm not really in shape for this, so I just pull out. I think that happens a lot because it's not the UFC. You're not getting crazy amounts of money. So people are doing it more at my level, the local level. It's more for the love of it and the challenge.
Yeah, because there's no money in it. On the local level,
yeah,
even when you get to the UFC.
Even though, the bottom guys in the UFC, I mean, they live on sponsorship and they live very humbly.
Can't live on much sponsorship anymore because of Reebok, because
Exactly.
Dana White did that Reebok deal, so they don't have that much
I mean,
left.
there's videos. It's really sad. Coleman, who won the UFC title, he won the Pride Grand Prix. There was a thing where he was selling his Pride trophy.
That's
on
so
eBay,
sad.
Yeah,
That's like heartbreaking to a guy who dedicated his whole life like a pioneer has to sell his trophy to make ends meet.
It's really sad. And there's so many guys back there. Gary Goodridge has brain trauma now. He's not doing very good, and all these people that they gave their health and their life up, and they got very little compensation. Now the top guys are making a lot of money, but you have to be the top 2 or 3 in your weight class to really make any money.
That's what I was more worried about, because being your close friend, you had boxed for a long time, and then you were fighting pro MMA, so sparring rounds, all that stuff. And you're a smart guy who reads a lot, and we haven't touched on that yet, but you've written, a book for yourself, all these things. I was like, man, how much longer is he going to let himself get punched in the head?
I will say I'm glad. I had a girl I was dating at the time, and she actually told me she wasn't the best girlfriend. That's why she's ex-girlfriend. But
She's
the one thing she said that was nice, she just said, you don't have anything more to prove. Like, you got to look after yourself. But then I had one of my great friends in England, Robin. He called me and he said, I had a couple of wins in a row. And he said, you got nothing else to prove. He said, you're 35, you've got to stop. And I said, you know what, I just want to do one more. I want to do one more knowing it's my last fight. And that was a huge thing. And I don't know how much you want to talk about this, but I've been searching for happiness. I've been obsessed with trying to search for happiness for 15 years. I've got a whole shelf at home of books on happiness and finding happiness and the secret to happiness. There's a lot of things that I think, try to do things where you're in a flow state, or try to do things from an altruistic state. So all these different advice for happiness. But I think the biggest thing, I think Benjamin Franklin said it, but I could be wrong. He said, the secret to happiness is deciding to be happy. And I think it's about changing your perspective, because any one of you that's had the privilege to go to Africa and just see, or some other, Southeast Asia, some countries where if you make $2 you're in the top percent. It's like that, or like Mo and I'm famous for venting to you, and we vent to each other
At like 1 or 2 in the morning.
Yeah, we vent, we get frustrated with things, and all you have to do is take a step back and reframe it from a perspective where people would love to have my problems. And yeah, it doesn't help because they're still your problems, but by reframing it and just changing your perspective.
I agree.
And I think, and that was my last, I remember a couple of fights before that. I remember distinctly looking up at my opponent, big jack guy, tattooed up. I looked at him and I thought, I got no problem with this guy. I don't want to fight this guy. The opposite of how you feel when you have a road rage incident and you want to get out of your car and kill somebody. It was like, I always wish I felt like that before my fights, but I was always like, I don't even know this guy. Why am I going to fight this guy?
What's funny is you and I don't have like outward aggression towards anybody until we're on the road.
Yes.
We do have road
But
rage.
you know why? Do you know why that is?
I know, I don't.
Because when you're driving, you don't realize it, but from a subconscious level, you're operating on a 7 out of 10. You're driving at fast speeds, tiny fractions of a second, someone pulling out, you can have a crash. So without even realizing it, you're not like on a conversation, if someone upsets you, you're going to be operating on a 1, and it's going to take a lot to get you to a 9. But when you're driving, you're subconsciously, you're kind of stressed, but it's at a subconscious level. So when someone cuts you off and you avoid a near accident, you're ready to get out of the car and fight. So
Yeah.
So no, it's tough for us because we drive all day.
Nobody wants to get in a road rage fight with you because you don't look like you're going to kill them, but they'd be in a lot of trouble if they got out and started kicking your car or something. Cotter, you don't look like you would like. You got the glasses, the tie. You don't look like you're going to beat somebody up badly.
I was saying the exact same thing. Like, most of my fights I've started off, and they'll do the cutaways to you, like if it's like they got the screens going,
right.
They'll cut away to like to me, and so at the end I always see like videos. They give me videos, and I'm in the corner, I'm smiling, just like having a good time, blah blah blah. They cut back to the other guys all like, I was like, why is he so upset? Like, what the hell? Like, we're just just gonna punch each other in the face for a little while.
Yeah, because it's more sport. Like when you see two people get in a fight and they haven't trained, I feel like if you train with people in a gym, you figure out like this doesn't have to be like I'm gonna kill this guy. But some people need that to get themselves crazy.
Yeah. Well, I think that's
I've had some road rage though. I will. Yeah, I'm not gonna.
All through. So,
just.
I think that's a great point though. That's a great point. That's a way to look at life, though, isn't it? It's like we have to compare ourselves to others because if you don't have any comparison, you don't know where you are. But ultimately, we're only competing against ourselves from yesterday. So I think the competition comes from 2 Greek words, kom and patia, and it means to come together. And what you're doing is you're coming together with somebody else to get to that next level. Like you need an opponent to get the best of you out of you. Yeah. And I think that's the way I always looked at it. I love my opponents because without them, what would I have? But I think people that take it personally, it's kind of silly.
Going back to what you said about first world problems, happiness, I love that because I vented to you and you've changed my perspective. It's funny, John and I were talking about first world problems. We were talking about getting 1,000 followers on Instagram while we were setting the studio back up again. And I was venting about how I got to 1,000, then dropped to 980. And John goes, first world problems.
My heart broke for you, man.
John's like, poor guy. He's like, I don't care about your 1,000 followers. Come back to me with 50. But no, I think you're right. It's my perspective has shifted a lot because of you. I take a step back a lot and I think about, wow, I really don't have that much to complain about. And yes, like when you've had a bad day, you're going to feel like, oh man, this day, was a tough day on me. But from a perspective standpoint, everybody sitting here has an incredible life, comparatively speaking to other people.
And I think that Tony Robbins is famous for saying that most problems are due to fatigue and exhaustion and frustration. So it's always a tiny thing and it's like the last straw. So he said most of the time when you're having you're likely going to be hungry. So at a subconscious level, you're ready to fight for your
You're
food.
hangry, as people say.
And he said
hangry.
if you have a glass of water and 5 macadamia nuts, sit down and just take a few breaths. Normally that's enough just to get you from an 8 to a 5 or 6. Just the simplest, smallest things. That definitely helps. But I mean, we're in a very funny business where you used to vent to me about your problems before I was in real estate. And I didn't appreciate them until I have them. People can be very selfish, and I've met some of my clients have actually become good friends, and a lot of my friends are my clients. So there's a lot of crossover. But unfortunately, people like you guys were talking about earlier, their problem is their only problem. But if you have 20 clients with problems, you have 20 problems. So their problem might be number 7 on your list of priorities, and they don't really see that. And also, a lot of people, I have some clients sometimes where I'll be at the gym for an hour, and I just leave my phone on the side and I'll get back and the same guy has left me 4 voicemails, sent me 5 texts and 2 emails. And it's like, bro, like just wait, we've become so impatient and that's just, and and the other thing is, I don't mind. I'm a late person. So Mo and I often talk, we work late. I start late. If I work till 2 in the morning, I'm not going to turn my phone on until 9 or 10. That's just the way, I need a break. And I'll get these guys leaving me 5 voicemails at 7, which is fine. They're a morning person. But the same guys calling me at 11:30, 12 at night. And it's like, have some respect for my time. And I think that's something with you. You're so nice. You have 50 agents at the company. And I think that if I'm going to give you some constructive criticism,
I'll take it.
You have to be better about telling people like, hey, listen, I'm going to help you, but it is Sunday night. Just make them, because I think a lot of they don't realize, like you said, like
hey, Main Street agents, before Lawrence finishes, listen to this. He's about to give all of you guys some advice too.
Yeah, it's like you said, you have a new agent. He's real excited. He has a guy that's buying a $400,000 place. He's going to get a $10,000 commission check. He's nervous, right? But it's like they need to respect that you're a human. You're incredibly busy, and you're a great guy. So you find it hard to say no. Respect your time. Don't text you after 9 o'clock at night. Don't text Mo. Wait till the morning. Because he needs.
Wow,
he needs
I
some
like
time.
this.
He needs some time to himself. So I think a big thing is you have to set boundaries. And I think one thing that I learned from reading about real estate when I first got in the business, and I love this, they said you have to teach people what to expect. So if I have to see if I see a doctor, I just got elbow surgery. I have to get elbow surgery on the other elbow, take some bone chips out. I'm not going to call my surgeon at 10 o'clock at night. I'm going to wait off business hours. I'm going to call him at 10 o'clock in the morning when his office is open. And I think, our business is not quite the same. So we do have to be somewhat flexible if it's a urgent thing. If your client wants to put an offer in a multiple offer situation, yes, it's on a Sunday afternoon. Yeah, you've got to get it in. Not just because it's a Sunday, it doesn't matter. So, but to a large degree, you can have people respect your time. And Ryan, I'm not a dad yet. Ryan's a dad. I think it's very important for us not to be resentful of the people we're working with, for your long-term sanity. I think anything with success, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So in order to have that longevity, you have to give yourself the personal time. And I think that's something that I've been good at before, but I just moved last week and I was trying to buy an investment property before, and I've been working way too much the last 3-4 months, and I feel very burnt out. And I'm not in a good place because my work-life balance has swung too far the other way. So I think it's very important. Like if you're a work-hard kind of guy, you have to be a play-hard guy and give yourself some natural breaks too.
So now that you just said you worked really hard and you're tired, what's the play hard? Where are you going? Because Lawrence travels a lot. And then you can pack Ryan and I into your suitcase. We're not that big and take us with you. John might fit in a suitcase, maybe not. But we'll take John
I'm
too.
I'm losing weight too.
That's all my list things to do tonight. Book some tickets for my fiance. So we're going to go to Dallas. I'm going to do a tournament in Dallas. And then she has one of her good friends there who's very successful, and he has a beautiful, beautiful place. So we're going to go there I'm going to compete, and then we'll spend a few days enjoying some warm Texan weather. And then I think 2 weeks after, I'm going to compete in Nevada, and then either stay there and relax in the sun. I need some sun. It's been a long winter, or we'll go to Hawaii for a week after. So.
You love Hawaii. That's like your spot, huh?
I do love Hawaii.
I've never been to Hawaii. Have you been to Hawaii, Quad?
Quiet, peaceful. I've only seen pictures.
You only seen pictures?
Yeah. It's very, very, I am now kind of more of a early morning, go to bed early type of individual.
You're getting old.
Yeah, sure. You know it. But I used to be the exact opposite. Like there's an old phrase, you're a rock star if you come home at 5:30 in the morning, and you're a rock star if you're leaving the house at 5:30 in the morning. I've been both, right? I've been the guy coming home late. Me and the missus, when we first started dating, we would go out 8 nights a week. We had a blast. But now I'm at the morning person. So Hawaii never appealed to me because it's such of a I think I heard the bars they shut down at 8 o'clock. I was like, I can't go there.
But now you're due.
Now I can.
I want to go. I have to go. You know what I might do is maybe not this trip. So Jamie, if you're listening, we're not going with Lawrence in 3 weeks. But maybe one of the times you go, because you're like the Hawaii expert. I'll go with you and.
But it's really cool. So one of my good friends, Eric Moon, he's a surgeon, and when I was
shout out to Eric, by the way,
he's
we
great.
all love Eric.
When I was fighting, he would help me with my medicals, and he's just become a good friend over the years. And he's from Hawaii, and he started jiu-jitsu actually 20 years ago. He's very humble, but he doesn't really talk about it. He had some MMA fights back in the day when it was style versus style. So he submitted a few guys.
And he knows everybody, so he knows everyone in the jiu-jitsu world.
So all the guys that he started off with, out of the 20 guys, maybe 10 or 12 of them were all black belts to have schools around the Hawaiian Islands. So I go there, and sometimes I like to take a break. I'll arrive in Hawaii. I'll see on Facebook he's tagging me. He'll message all the guys who have schools on the island. He's like, hey, my boy Lawrence is there. Show him some love. So I get these gym owners like, hey, come by. And then I feel obliged to come by. So it was actually really cool last time I was there. one of the guys just had knee surgery, and he said, hey, you're on an island, so you don't have, he said, my guys don't have too much access to all these high-level guys, and I've had knee surgery. He's like, can you come and teach a seminar and show some of your favorite techniques? And it was so cool. You feel like you're part of the community.
Yeah.
And so I feel like Hawaii is my third home after
awesome.
England and Chicago. So
Do you find like when you're there, like that's, I mean, you become a local.
Exactly right. They took me under their wing, and I have a few good Hawaiian friends here, and one of my good friends always said, he's like, hey bro, you're Hawaiian, you're an honorary Hawaiian. So I love the attitude there. They have a very martial spirit. You know, they're very famous for just loving to fight. They have that BJ Penn style, like just scrap. But they know how to relax and enjoy life too. So I love Hawaiian people. Love the culture.
I'm a local, like in Cancun, Mexico, because I've gone so many times. I just get there and they're like, "Hola, Senor Dodka is here," and I'm like, "I'm back."
Mexico is one of my favorite too. Just like more of the Caribbean side. I like again the going and becoming a local type mentality.
Yeah.
You know, going to different places, not the tourist place. I used to work in Cancun.
Really? Were you like the shop boy at Coco Bongo?
I was.
Because you were like a cowboy. That's where he was a cowboy, John. He had a cowboy hat on in Cancun, Mexico, and he would go around. He was like the gringo guy with the cowboy hat.
Ryan Cutter looks amazing at Daisy Duke.
Yeah, we figured it out.
I was. My friend owned a travel company, and so one of those jobs that I would take off, and go, just hang out was I was a travel supervisor in Cancun, Mazatlan, Acapulco, Xtapa, basically every major resort town.
Wow.
So I love Cancun, and I love Cancun. I love Mexico in general.
Me too.
So it's one of my favorite places to go.
You worked a lot of jobs.
A lot of jobs.
So, Lawrence, one piece of advice, because you've reinvented yourself, or a couple pieces of advice. You've reinvented yourself a couple times. You've gone from very successful trader to, professionally fighting, which was a profession. That was not, hey, I retired and just didn't do anything and just, effed off. You actually went and took that as a profession. You were very successful and then reinvented yourself again. Any advice for somebody who's getting in business? Because it's a trend. When somebody has a successful business or is a successful business person, you can typically remove them from that business, put them somewhere else, and then they're successful again. You see so many serial business owners after they have the recipe to success. They're just continuously successful. Anything that you think, good advice for the people listening who want to be business owners who are in business and aren't as successful as you've been?
Well, I think the one thing you touched on, the serial entrepreneurs that are very successful, I think that is due to work ethic in general. Like a lot of good athletes then become whatever profession they get into. If you're an NCAA wrestling champion, you have insane work ethic, so you can apply that to any other field. But I think you guys touched on it earlier. Definitely the mentorship, you have to have people to learn from. Like it's so sad in our day and age, myself included, we have so much ADD with our phones, right? So we don't have the attention span that a lot of people had, or that I used to have when I was growing up, before I had a cell phone. But I think that you have so much. If you have, if you get a good book, like for instance Nassim Taleb, Jay and I like him a lot. I like him a little more. He comes across as a tiny bit pretentious, but say he wrote a couple of famous books. I think the most famous is The Black Swan. If you read one of his books, I've learned so much about life from reading that book. Not only he has a background in finance, but he's a very big believer in just taking time for yourself. He has a trading company now, but he's famous. He says a professor every 6 years takes a sabbatical and they work on something, a project or something. He's always taking those times for himself and saying, take a step back and improve yourself. So if you want to apply that to business, what a lot of people say in real estate is a great example. You start off in real estate, you say, I want to make as much money as I can. That's 100% the wrong approach. The right approach is, I want to learn as much as I can so that I can provide service to people and I can build great relationships. And then from providing a great service and having great relationships, the money's going to come. But it's not going to come. If I start in real estate and someone starts and they just want to make money, maybe the first 6 months they'll make more than me. But in long term, who's going to be more successful? Obviously me, because I have a different approach. I think the big thing with any business is you have to know what you're doing. You have to become very good. So I credit you. I mean, obviously I read widely in real estate when I first started, because I didn't want to be that guy when I'm out with somebody and he's like, hey, how do I do this? How do I do that? I want to understand everything. And I was very conscious of the fact that I was new and I didn't. and I picked your brains. We used to walk our dogs, almost every night. We lived in the same building, and I pick your brains without even realizing. Just in our conversation, half the time you might not even realize. I learned so much from you over the first few years just from picking your brains. So you were my mentor. I'm working on actually providing, actually knowing what I'm doing, but also relationships. I think that I have a good relationship with a couple of developers that are, I get access to off-market buildings and things like that, and it's going to really help my business. But it took, I didn't make any money from those relationships for the first couple of years, but I wasn't trying to make money. I was trying to build something. And I think that's the key is patience and just getting the expertise first, and then, the success will come.
I love that. That's great advice, especially for realtors, because I know we have a lot of realtors listening. I know you have a lot of realtors listening, Ryan. John does. I do for sure, but any business owner in general. I had somebody a few weeks ago say, hey, listen, I just got my law license, a year ago or something, or 6 months ago. I graduated, I got licensed, and I'm getting a real estate license right now. I want to be where you're at in 2 years. And I said, good. And I'm going to sit down with this person and try to teach them the blueprint, because I'm a believer in giver's gain. I'm a believer in teach people. You don't need to hold your information close to your chest. That's a big part of why we're doing this. We want to teach people. We want to teach entrepreneurs. We want to put the information out there. But I think people think that success happens overnight. And I've been at it for a decade now.
There was a guy that was on Oprah Winfrey's show, must be nearly 20 years ago, because I was still in England. And he said, it's always twice as hard to make half the money you thought you were going to make.
Yeah.
So basically, you have to work twice as hard, and your results will be about half of what you expect. And so what you just said is great. I think Leonardo da Vinci said, poor is the student who doesn't exceed the master, because the master's giving him the blueprint. So yes, if something took you 6 years and someone follows your blueprint and you had a lot of trial and error, but they can start from your methods at the beginning, maybe it will take them 4.5 or 5, but probably not 1 or 2. And I think that everyone, especially in our society, we want the results without the work. And that's why that most of the really successful people, that they love the process, who's the guy that has the Bill Gates?
Rich guy.
Yeah, he loved coding. He didn't care about money. He was a geek. He was a nerd, and he loved coding. And he would spend hours and hours in high school.
Mm-hmm.
He would just be there all day, and he got really, really good because he loved it. He wasn't doing it so he could have the world's most successful foundation and be the richest guy in the world. So I think that's my big pet hate. And you see it in jiu-jitsu too. One of our good friends, Christian, he's been doing jiu-jitsu 10 years, and he submitted some new guy who'd been training 6 months, and the guy's cursing, and he's all mad. And Chris turns to me and says, what does he expect? I've been training 10 years. The guy's been training 6 months. Of course I'm gonna beat him,
Right.
Unless he's a phenom, which, does happen occasionally. But in general, people get frustrated because, they're not where they want to be today. And actually, that's a good thing about happiness is I'm not where I want to be, right? Otherwise, I wouldn't get out of bed in the morning. I'm striving for something. You're not where you want to be. Otherwise, you would just stay in bed all day. You've got everything you want, right? So all of us are not where we want to be, and we're all striving to improve ourselves and get what we want to get. But if you live like that, you're going to have a very unhappy life, because you're always going to compare yourself to other people. And again, I was mad at you because I was trying to give you you'd had a bad day, you were venting, and I was trying to give you some compliments. And I said, Mo, you've come so far, you have all these businesses, and this in particular, I'm really happy for you. I think this is a great one. And you said, yeah, but I'm not Elon Musk. Or you said some comment. Listen, there's 7 billion people. If you compare yourself to Elon Musk, is pretty much top 2 right now, 3 in the world. He's incredible. You could end up being top 10 out of 7 billion, but you're still up 6. You're comparing yourself to number 1.
That's good advice.
And my old trading boss, who owned my trading company when I moved here, very, very wealthy guy. He lived in a building when Britney Spears was doing very well back then. And he was like, oh, yeah, I'm in a condo building with Britney. And he was complaining because she has more money than him or something. And I remember thinking,
she had more money than everybody for a while.
But he was complaining to me. I was a new trader making a $40,000 salary. And I was like, I don't want to hear this shit. Why are you complaining to me about this? So I think it's the key to success is not being where you want to be, because no successful person is where he wants to be. You're always striving. But being happy that you're on the path to where you want to be. And I think that's something that I've worked a lot recently, because the last 4 years I've been rebuilding my second career in real estate. I'm closer now than I was 4 years ago, but it's been a journey, right? I'm rebuilding, but I'm happy that I'm taking the right steps. And I think that's very important because ultimately no success is worth anything without happiness, right? Like
Right.
we do everything because we think that it's going to make us happy. But from a biological level, we're fighting our genes. We didn't survive here. Our ancestors didn't reproduce, and we're not here because we were happy. Because if you're happy, you're just hanging out. You're going to get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. So
there better be none of those in River North when I walk outside.
Right, but I mean, you get the point. So
Yeah,
the point is that we're always, so it's in our genes not to be happy. So that thing with adaptability, they say that 6 months after someone becomes a paraplegic, their happiness level is not that much different to before they were injured. Same thing with, you come across extreme good fortune and you have, a long lost relative you didn't even know died and you get left 10 million. You have a few hedonistic weeks of partying. 6 months later, your fundamental happiness, it hasn't changed. So I think that's very important. It's not the actual external events that make us happy. It's appreciation for where we are and what we're doing. And I think that, for me, if I had to sum up happiness, it's going to be that Benjamin Franklin quote, deciding to be happy, deciding where you are is good enough to be happy. It doesn't mean you're not striving for things, but it means you're striving them from a perspective of being happy where you're at and appreciative for what you have got. Because you can always look at your cup and say, it's half full and focus on what you have, or you can focus on what you don't have. And I think you're a little younger than me and you're a little bit more entrepreneurial focused. After I had my first success in trading, I lost interest I realized that it didn't really do much for me. So I'm kind of striving to be more like my dad, and trying to work less and experience more. But I think that focusing on what you do have is just, it's got to be the thing that we strive for. And
Being grateful.
Yeah, exactly.
Being grateful. One of the best tactics I've heard about changing that mindset, which is the day is comprised of mindsets, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you start with one mindset or you start with another mindset. And to start with the best mindset is to wake up. There's a book called Miracle Morning. Not sure if they break down what you should do every morning. The cliff notes of the book are wake up 1 hour earlier and do these 6 steps. One of the steps is, just think for 10 minutes about what you're grateful for. Because when you start off the day with a positive attitude,
that reframes your whole day.
Whole day.
Exactly. That's
whole day.
amazing advice.
And then, because there's challenges that face us every day. There's difficulties that we have to deal with, on multiple levels. Like we all in real estate, we're therapists for a lot of our clients, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Right. So you got to be able to take that, what they're projecting, give a little empathy, reframe it. But if you start your day off with that gratefulness, and then something negative comes across, the fire comes up that we have to put out, right? We're in a much better mindset than if you just wake up in the morning, you're like, oh man,
and that's momentum is real. There's reasons that sport teams have these insane winning streaks, and you have bad losing streaks too, because momentum is real. So if you, like you said, you spend that 10 minutes reframing yourself and starting off in a positive mindset, that momentum will carry on through the day's challenges. And I think that's really great advice. That's something that I need to work on, because I normally oversleep because I was up too late the night before, and then my day starts off with, boom, 20 messages. I'm like, oh my God.
Before you turn
your phone off.
That's what the book says, no matter what time you ever start,
don't
pick up your phone.
Exactly. You and I should read that book.
That's going to put you right in the rat race, right?
100%,
and
yeah. And that also gets
on the big picture of the day.
It gets you on their schedule, not on your schedule. Exactly,
right.
Yeah.
Right. I love that. I first of all, you and I should both definitely read that, because I'm like you. I pick up my phone, I get stressed out in the mornings, and I start my day off. Holy smokes, I got to do all this stuff right now, and then I'm running out of the house late, and it frustrates me. This was cool, John. This was, I think they're the best two duo to have on together, because Lawrence, you've been a big part of teaching me how to be happy, and I've looked up to you a lot. And recently I've met Ryan, and I look up to both of you guys so much. And the advice you guys gave really helps not just business people, but people in general who want to figure out how to remain happy. So I love it. That was great advice for both of you guys. And both of you guys are guys, obviously, John and I want to have on the show regularly. So for those of you watching, if you loved our show, please like it, please share it. It's Facebook Live right now. We're going to get it up on YouTube. Please follow AE Wheelhouse. This is kind of exactly what we want our show to be like. We have two successful people who are going to talk about their experiences. I've learned a lot from both of you. I mean, the mentorship thing for me has been huge, and I hope people listening, you get a mentor. I feel like I failed. Several. I feel like I failed at that so far. I mean, I look up to people. You're a mentor of mine. My father's a big mentor of mine. I've had mentors in different things, and I feel like leaving this show today, I want to go figure out how to get more mentors because I think it's huge.
Just a quick little thing. It's find that person that you need in that specific part, and you have to ask them. And then you might even have to court them a little bit. Like, hey, I'm going to ask you to be my mentor. I'm going to come back to you if you'd say no right now. I'd like to read.
Please don't say no to me.
Yeah, please don't say no to me. But sometimes in seasons in life, people are busy.
Right, of course.
It's not that I don't want you to be my mentor right now, or you're too busy for it. But seek that out. You have to seek that out. It's got to be a driving purpose in your life because that's going to take you to the next level.
And I think it's good friends that are kind of in the same path as you.
Yeah.
It's your duty of friendship to kind of keep your friends honest and keep them accountable. So if you say to me, if you call me one night, we're talking, and you say, hey, I want to have this goal in 3 months. I want to do this. And then a month goes by and you haven't really started the steps to do it. As your friend, I'm going to say, brother, what's going on?
You've done that to me a couple times in a good way. No, and I love it.
That's great. And I will say, I don't know if Brad's listening, but Brad's been very good in the last 10 years. He's kept me accountable to things too. And he's told me some truths about, bad relationships I was in or things I was doing that wasn't really what I wanted to do. And he's a couple of times pulled me aside. He's very introspective. And he said, hey, buddy, you got to make some changes. And I really, really am very grateful for him doing that. You don't have too many friends because you don't like to hear this stuff. It's not going to make him like you more as a friend. And Brad wrote a book. I did the same to him. He gave me a first draft and I kind of tore it apart and I gave it back to him with a lot of red lines through. And I said, change this. And he was kind of upset with me. About 2 years later, he turned around. He said, brother, I want to thank you so much because all the stuff you said was right, but it took me a long time to process it because it was kind of insulting that you had all these critiques. But he took it eventually. He made the changes. He kind of had the same viewpoint when he took a step back and he wasn't personally offended. And that was awesome, so we both done that with each other a lot. And I think that if you have a couple of people in your life you can keep accountable, I think it's great.
No, I love it. And thank you. I mean, you've been that accountability partner for me for now going on 7-8 years. And I had a blast today. Thank you
want
guys.
You guys hold me accountable for some stuff.
Yeah, we're going to hold you accountable.
We'll work on that.
Well, first of all, let's hold you accountable. Before we go, we do have to, we're going to re-announce the Real Estate Rumble here. Yep. May 17th at the Park West. Mm-hmm. You get tickets at http://what?
www.chicagorealestaterumble.com.
Please show up. Please support the cause. The money goes to the kids. Ryan and Albron and Greg and everybody involved with it do such an incredible job. It's an amazing charity. I'm passionate about it. I know John's passionate about it. And
I was going to say just one more thing.
Sure.
Again, obviously, the proceeds benefit Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and Mercy Home for Boys and Girls. The topic that we were talking about today, which is mentorship, the reason why I'm very passionate about these organizations is because Chicago is like ground zero for lack of mentorship in young males, right? So on top of the whole thing, come watch some people get punched in the face, have some drinks, have some food, but look at those two organizations, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, or Mercy Home for Boys and Girls, and being a mentor to somebody in one of those organizations, it's not very much commitment. Really, it really is like people think like, oh, mentor, I got to talk to this kid like a bunch of times. They have such little mentorship in their life, and the program's designed for you really just to kind of touch base them on a small level, and then you can dive in. So it's not overwhelming to be a mentor in one of those organizations. So I just encourage everybody to look a little bit more into it because we really need it here in the city of Chicago.
No, we really do. And I think it's a duty for those who are successful. I really do, to help mentor other people. I think if you are a successful person, it's obviously due to your hard work, but other people have helped. Nobody is successful on their own because of themselves. So there is a duty to give that mentorship back. If you don't, You're a terrible, terrible person. But I agree with you. And I'm off air
forward.
going to get your
That's another
information.
great
Yeah,
book.
pay
Pay
it forward.
Forward. Yeah.
Pay it forward. And I've been very blessed to obviously have great mentors, you guys and people we spoke about. So I love that. So give back. Definitely show up to the Real Estate Rumble. If you still want to sponsor it, I know this. I'm going to add this at the end.
Absolutely.
Give Ryan Cotter a call and sponsor the Rumble. It's really cool. I've sponsored it from Main Street. I've sponsored it from Dotco Law. So May 17th. Weigh-ins next week, April 18th at Bottle Blonde. Come listen to some people talk crap, get in each other's faces a bit.
Have a drink or two. Again, we will have a 50-50 raffle. All the proceeds from that as well go to Big Brothers Big Sisters. So it's just good events bringing the community together.
I love it. Guys, thank you for tuning into our first ever live Wheelhouse. John and I are excited to be doing this every single week, 3 o'clock on Wednesdays, Central Time. We're going to be hosting charities, entrepreneurs, business owners, influencers, boxers, MMA folks, these guys. I love it. Thanks, guys. I hope the feed was great. John and I have been working really hard in the studio to get this thing airing perfectly for you guys, and I can't wait to see you guys next week. Thanks again, guys, and tune in.
3, 2, 1.